Welcome to a Healing Peace podcast. My name is Kimir Baker. I am an overcomer. I am very passionate about helping others to achieve an abundant life fueled by spiritual principles and emotional balance. In this podcast series, we delve into spiritual self-care. Yes, we will explore exercising our minds and bodies, but more importantly, we will discuss strengthening our inner being, embracing God's love, and being filled by the fullness of God. As you take this journey with us, we want to inspire possessing your authentic selves and happiness. Glad to have you back. We've been having a great time debunking myths about God. As we delve into the subject, I want to reveal that God wants us to be successful. He wants us to embrace His purpose in our lives. We're not done just yet with this topic. But of course, before I move forward, it surely is that time. Yes, it is. You know what I'm about to say. Please subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Leave us a review and surely tell others about us. These small acts make a huge impact. Yes, they do. Now, back to the show. Have you ever experienced something where you knew you did something wrong? Or maybe you had an experience where you felt like a failure? The taste of failure made you stop pursuing your dreams and aspirations. In the podcast episode 129, Be of Good Courage, I talked about doing the extraordinary. I shared my intentions to fix the roof until fear set in. Before I realized my limitations, I focused on saving the day. That is, doing the extraordinary. But again, what happens when we identify our weaknesses or failures and have difficulty in moving forward? Well, you know how I do. Yes, you do. We're about to go to that good old Bible. Yes, we are.
Are you ready to unlock the extraordinary? Join Jay Intel in a Healing Peace for our online workshop. Discover your purpose. We will explore our strengths, desires, and dreams to align with our deepest selves. We will unlock our extraordinary, which will impact those around us. Join us for one incredible evening. Tuesday, November 9th at 7 p.m. Central Timing. Go to ahealingpeace.com/register to learn more and to sign up.
In Luke 5, 1 through 10, Luke describes Jesus gathering his followers, or the first disciples. Jesus leaves a crowd by taking a ride on the boat. The boat belonged to a fisherman, Simon. While he was on the boat, Jesus requested that Simon cast his nets to catch fish. At first, Simon responded, Lord, we fished all night, but we didn't catch anything. Despite his reservations, he conceded and did what Jesus asked. He placed the nets back in the water. Surely enough, after placing them in the water, the nets filled with a large number of fish. The catch was so big that he had to ask for help to pull it in. Once he realized what occurred, he understood the authority and power of Christ. He was so in awe of Christ and the miracle of fish, he requested Jesus to leave his presence because he was a sinful man. At that moment, Simon understood that he was in the presence of the Holy One. He also felt inadequate. Simon was about to go down the spiral of feeling inadequate and unworthy. He saw his weakness. Of course, he couldn't compare himself to the Holy One. No, he was so inadequate that he dared not to be in the presence of the Lord. Away from me, Lord. I am unclean. I am unworthy. Have you ever experienced something similar? I am unworthy to be in the presence of the Lord. I messed up too bad, so much, that he doesn't want to be around me. I know I wrestle with God throughout my Christian walk. I know my flaws too well. And in those flaws, of course, I may think, oh, God doesn't want to hear from me today. How can he? I'm a sinner. How can he use me? I got too much stuff going on. This is just not good. Well, before I get carried away, let me get back to the story. How did Jesus respond to Simon? Now, me being human, I'll be like, yeah, you better recognize who I am. Ooh, that fleshy side. Don't we want that recognition? Or, Simon, you right. You're a sinner, and I can't be around sinners. I'm just too holy. Now, if Jesus responded like this, people be like, that's why I do not like those Christians. They always think they are better than everyone else. Yeah, that's our human nature. I am happy to report that Jesus did not respond like anything I just described. No, he didn't. Jesus responded by telling Simon not to be afraid. He then gave Simon a purpose. You will fish for men. Simply, you will tell others about me. You see, Jesus knew immediately that Simon's feelings of inadequacy were rooted in fear. Jesus didn't want Simon to stay in his place. He had a designed purpose for him. He had more to give, and it did not start with fear or feeling inadequate. Jesus stopped Simon from going down that path of feeling inadequate, which leads to feeling useless and leads to being useless. That's right, you guys. Jesus stopped him in his tracks. He quickly asserted, you will not live in fear. And yes, you are valuable. So valuable that you have a design purpose. As I describe this story, I am reminded of my own. I shared a long time ago about my adventure in Afghanistan. I was a civilian contractor with the Navy Corps of Engineers. From a human perspective, I really should not have been there. Yeah, I'm not a military person at all. Nonetheless, while I was there, I was bullied. And boy, when I say bullied, I mean I was bullied. They saw me as weak and I felt like it. It was terrible. Despite being weak and fearful, a group of women wanted me to lead their Bible discussion group. I was like, what? Are you talking to me? You surely can't talk to me. You guys, y'all the strong ones. I'm trying to learn from you so that I'm not being bullied so much. Hey, y'all asked the wrong person. Do you really understand who you talking to? Well, one day, one of the ladies came into my office and I shared how I was knocking in my boots. She shared her testimony and then she told me that God placed me in the position to lead. Now lead. She also expressed that she will follow me. I was speechless, to say the least. Similar to Jesus challenging Simon's fear and pushing him forward into purpose, God surely used this lady to call me out of my fear and to guide me back to his purpose, which is sharing his truth with others. After our conversation, I pulled myself together and I said, oh God, I'm going to do what you asked. I'm going to lead our group. It was so needed. God used this situation to not only encourage them with the truth, but it provided a platform for me to gain my voice. Due to my previous experience and thus being bullied, I did not know how to use my voice. I never spoke up for myself, and I received what was dished out. Instead, God used that experience to reveal that I have a voice and is meant to be heard. Not only do I have a voice, but I am adequate. He demonstrated that there was more for me to give as long as I pushed beyond my fears. What about you? What fears do you need to renounce to realign yourself with your design purpose? What I want you to see the most is that God sees you and wants you to be in your design purpose. Like we noticed previously with Jesus, he doesn't want us to live in a place of inadequacy and fear. Oh no, oh no, oh no. There is something specifically poured into you that he wants you to pour out into others. And I will say that for me in my journey, so many times I have to get pulled back to this understanding. Why? Because life gets difficult and we have those experiences where people tell us certain things. And sometimes in those experiences, we start believing it. But I want to encourage you that even though people may say X, Y, and Z, those are not the elements that God says about you. And remember how Jesus, his first inclination was to pull Simon from a place of not being valued or feeling insignificant and pull him into a place because he was like, hey, there is more for you. I have something specific for you to do in your life. And when I read this story and I saw this and I was like, man, God and Jesus, they're so quick to want to make sure that we have what we need so that we can glorify him with our lives. And unfortunately, when we're in that place of fear, when we're in that place of, oh, you too holy, you can't use me, I'm too lowly, I got too many problems. They don't see how broken I am. They don't see how hurt I am. No, you can't use this. And God and Jesus, they're like, no. Because of your experiences, there's so much more that you can relate to, that you can inspire, that you can encourage, that you can lift up. And not only that, I don't want you to live in a place that minimizes what I poured into you, what I gave you. And so when I read this, it was a confirmation of, girl, I am with you and I want you to do bigger and greater things. And I'm so in tune to you that I know that you're trying or life is trying to keep you feeling undervalued and feeling fearful. But I'm quicker because I see right away what's underneath all that. And instead of saying that you can't come to me, no. Not only are you going to come to me, but I'm going to give you something in return. And what I give you is what's going to impact all those around you. And I'm like, oh, how exciting is this truth? How exciting that God wants to pour into us so that we can exemplify him and be the goodness around those who don't have that sense of light.
Our 501c3 nonprofit organization, J Intel, and A Healing Peace are looking for community partners to support our mission. We are bridging the gap between faith-based and therapeutic resources. Consider partnering with us. Go to jintel.org/donate and contribute. By contributing in this manner, you ensure that we continue to spread this inspiring and encouraging message.
So here's the deal. I want to give you guys a couple of tips to help you to push beyond those fears and have you aligned in that purpose that God has created for you. So here they are. Tip number 1, identify one area where fear and feeling inadequate have limited your growth. After identifying the limitations, now identify one or two items that will move you into action. For instance, as I previously described, I did not know how to use my voice. I was afraid to speak up. Therefore, one action item may be spending time to journal. When you journal, you not only identify your experiences, but you highlight your emotions. Putting into words how your experiences shaped your emotions and thoughts. As you journal in this fashion, you are learning how to clarify your experiences while learning how to communicate your experiences cohesively. As you develop this skill, it becomes easier to communicate with others and thereby assisting in asserting your voice in conversations. Luckily for me, I have this wonderful podcast. Yes, when I'm speaking to you guys, not only do I boost my ability to communicate my ideas and feelings, because, sometimes I do want to just come and ramble, but it doesn't make any sense to you. So I had to put that in check. So it's like, man, how can I articulate this situation, this experience? And doing the podcast helps me to do that. But when you journal, that also provides that method to provide that level of clarity so that you can understand how to express yourself when it comes time to speak to other people. But not only that, when you're in that mode of being in tune and learning how to communicate in that method, you're also beginning to boost your confidence. Why is that? Because you all know from listening to my podcast that a sister likes to talk. And when we're able to be clear and feel strengthened and know distinctly our experiences, we're able to be confident, be able to share more specifically what's going on. It does so much. So yes, tip number 1 is to find some action items to put into practice so that your fear, your feeling of inadequacies is not ruling. We want to shift that out and shift that good and shift in some better action items. All right, before I get carried away, because I continue to do that this episode. Tip number 2, pay close attention to the natural capabilities that others reveal about you. A while ago, in one of our previous episodes, I identified how I did not consider myself to be intelligent. Can I say the devil is a liar? Nonetheless, as God began to unravel this lie and expose the truth, He used people to open my eyes. Yes, since I like to talk, in a previous podcast episode, I discussed that during the workshop, due to the type of questions that I asked, others took note of me. Eventually, several women came over to seek my advice and gain understanding of the work that I was doing. You see, my questions demonstrated that I knew so much that I actually found loopholes in the presentation. To be honest, I wasn't trying to find loopholes. I was just confused. But others, they identified that, man, she got a brain and this brain is kicking into high gear. When the women approached me, I began to understand that, yes, I am intelligent and others want to learn from me. As you implement this tip, please, and I say please don't do this, do not go around seeking validation from others. That is not what I mean by this tip. When I say seeking validation, I'm saying this. Here's another example. Going back to my intelligence, which is, oh, well, so-and-so, she didn't say that I was intelligent, so I must not be. And my teacher over there, he actually made a statement that made me seem really stupid. So I must not be intelligent. No. Please do not do this. This tip is merely to reinforce what God has been telling you all along, but because of your previous experiences you're having a hard time believing it. But now I want you to pay attention to how God has been communicating with you, how he's been highlighting your strengths, how he's been highlighting those things that he put into you. And now I just want you to pay attention because he's trying to tell you, girl, you got this. And this is why you got it. All right, now, tip number 3, which is, and I'm going to iterate because we be giving out some good information in these podcast episodes now. So I'm going to go on back to another one. This is episode 136, Spiritual and Emotional Connection Tools and Tips. This sounds familiar. And this tip is to focus on your strengths. Spend time cultivating your strengths. When you do this, you will naturally excel while building your confidence. Yep, we're going back to that confidence. So now you have 3 tips for pushing past your fears to align yourself with your design purpose. Okay, so I know this was just a little nugget, a little subset of goodness, but I want you to take a deeper dive into aligning with your purpose. How can you do this? Yes, I'm about to tell you. Join me, A Healing Piece, and Jay Intel Tuesday, November 9th at 7 p.m. for our online workshop. We will have fun exploring our strengths that are aligned with our purpose. Come on out. I want to see your lovely faces while having a supportive and encouraging evening. As I stated before, I always enjoy our workshops where women can come together and just shed some of those false truths and get us anchored into how God sees us in a healthy way and being empowered just to be ourselves. Just some good stuff. All right, now come back next week for another great installment.